Welcome to Across the Balkans. Great to have you with us on the show. I'm Ludovica Brignola. Montenegro's ruling pro-EU party, the Europe Now movement, has claimed victory in Sunday's parliamentary elections, 2 months after taking the country's presidency. But with just under 26% of the vote, the party failed to secure enough support to form a government on its own, and it will have to seek partners in the 81-seat parliament. Running neck and neck with the Europe Now movement is the Democratic Party of Socialists, led by former President Milo Djukanovic, who came in second with 23%. The vote was expected to put an end to a political deadlock in which 2 previous governments collapsed after no-confidence motions. But instability is likely to continue with no clear winner and tough coalition talks ahead. Mirjana Miladinovic reports from Podgorica.
Just 2 months after Milo Djukanovic, who dominated Montenegrin politics for decades, lost power, new parliamentary elections have been held. However, preliminary results suggest that, once again, no party or coalition will be able to form a government on its own. The Europe Now movement, until now absent from the assembly, has won 24 seats in the parliament, the most of any single party.
Ovo je velika pobjeda za pokret Evropa sad i za našu listu. Od statusa vanparlamentarne stranke smo za manje od godinu dana postali najveća stranka u Crnoj Gori. I to uprkos svim pritiscima, zloupotrebi državnih resursa i svemu čemu ste svjedočili ovih dana. Ostvarili smo, kao što sam rekao, dobar rezultat i očekujemo da se vlada što prije formira. Nećemo se ponijeti u ovoj pobjedi i razgovarat ćemo sa svima koji dijele naše vrijednosti.
The coalition led by the Democratic Party of Socialists, until recently led by Milo Djukanovic, is next with 21 seats.
Demokratska partija socijalista jača i od čelika. Ova koalicija je svojom snagom potvrdila političku relevantnost i odmah da saopštimo građankama i građanima Crne Gore, bez koalicije zajedno nema stabilne, reformske, evropske vlade.
So far, almost all of the 9 parties and coalitions represented in the Assembly have announced that they will be part of the government.
Ova koalicija biti glavna okosnica buduće vlade Crne Gore.
Ono što smo tvrdili prije izbora se obestinilo. Stabilne vlade i stabilne parlamentarne većine nema bez koalicije, hrabro se broji.
Stabilne, demokratske, evropske i građanske vlade u Crnoj Gori nema bez koalicije za budućnost Crne Gore.
It's clear that forming a government won't be easy. After leading for decades but dipping in the polls, the DPS was hoping to remobilize support. But the Europe Now movement was tipped to win when its young centrist leadership intent on economic reform. After a vote of no confidence and months of stalemate, this snap election was supposed to bring stability. But a few days before the election, allegations emerged that Europe Now movement's founder and leader Milojko Spajić had business ties with fugitive cryptocurrency mogul Dok Von, who is in custody in Montenegro on suspicion of a $40 billion fraud. Spajić accused outgoing Prime Minister Dritan Abazović of fabricating the connection. Perhaps the result of voter fatigue, the election saw a record low turnout of 56.4%. Parliamentary elections were supposed to resolve a long-running political crisis and bring Montenegro a stable government that would lead it into the EU. However, the pressing question now is, will it be easy to form a government given where the votes went? Some analysts expect foreign influence to play a significant role.
Prije svega će tu biti sukob naših zapadnih partnera i predsjednika i Srbije i Rusije na formiranje te vlade. Uvijek kada kažem predsjednik Vučić, to su preklapajući namjerne interesi sa zvaničnom Moskvom i on ima veliki utjecaj na predsjednika Crne Gore, da vidimo prvo kome će on dati mandat. S druge strane, da vidimo da li se može formirati većina koja će biti lojalna Beogradu. Ni to nije daleko od mogućega, da se razumijemo. jer Evropa sad, iako programski definisana kao proevropska i tako dalje, u sebi ima puno oni koji su mnogo bliži i gledaju Moskvi nego što gledaju ka Briselu i Vašingtonu.
Whenever and however a new government is formed, Europe has made its position clear.
Montenegro is one of the candidate countries with a long track record of 100% alignment on foreign policy. This is something that the European Union is stressing very often and appreciating very regularly, because it comes at the cost, of course, for the country, because it makes it also a target of foreign interference and malicious foreign interference. But we are confident that Montenegro, even with the new government, will continue to deliver on this very good track record and continue on its accession path.
Jakov Milatovic, Montenegro's newly elected president and the deputy leader of the Europe Now movement, has expressed commitment to the Open Balkan bloc, an economic and political alliance currently comprised of Albania, North Macedonia and Serbia. But not everyone agrees.
Mi možemo da okončamo za 2 godine pregovore sa Europskom unijom. 3 najduže. Zašto bismo onda ulagali energiju kao Otvorenom Balkanu? Čim čujete od nekoga, mi moramo odmah da uđemo u Otvoreni Balkan, poruka je ne moramo da ulazimo brzo u Evropsku uniju.
The State Election Commission is expected to announce the final results in the coming days. It's clear that the Montenegrin political scene is in for another dynamic summer. Mirjana Miladinovic, TRT World, Podgorica, Montenegro.
Joining me now from Podgorica is Ana Nenezic. She is the Executive Director at the Center for Monitoring and Research. Thank you very much for joining us. So,
thank you for having me.
Montenegro's Europe Now movement party was the top winner from Sunday's elections, according to preliminary results. But their victory actually came just with over 25% of the votes, according to monitoring groups, which is one of the lowest margins for the winning party. How divided is the country right now politically?
Well, in general, we have a high level of polarization in society, but I do not believe that this result reflects this. Still, they have 24 mandates in the parliament, which contains 81 seats, which makes them the strongest separate political party and the one who will be managing the next talks around the forming of a new government. The polls were giving them much more percentage and also the seats. But some events during the final part of the campaign, I believe, influenced that they, at the end, received less votes than we were expecting. The campaign was really slow. It was not informative. It was really peaceful for the first time in the Montenegrin elections. But at the end, the last week of the elections, the Prime Minister came out with strong accusations against the leader of Europe Now party. And at the same time, they were also running for the parliamentary elections. We didn't have any state institution confirming or denying these accusations, but we believe that voters decided not to go out and vote, or they decided to vote in a lower turnout to the Europe Now because of these accusations.
Right, so the polls were pointing to something different, you were saying, but given this deep political division, how hard will it be for the Europe Now movement party and its leader, Miloš Spajic, to form a government? Because Spajic said tomorrow would be a new day. Will it really be a new day, or will it look very similar to recent years where fragile coalition governments are hastily forged together only to collapse shortly after?
Well, I believe that we have the same chances of forming a stable government and going to the elections in a few months, to be completely honest. And this is because we have several parties which entered the parliament, but none of these parties have enough majority to control fully the process. So they will need to form the government in a coalition, and there is ideological and other differences between these parties, which will determine who can go with who. The second strongest party is DPS. DPS was ruling Montenegro for 30 plus years. there is a tendency of all other parties not to go in a coalition with this party. But without them, for this time, I do not believe they will be able to form a stable government. In general, the situation in Montenegro completely changed after the elections of 2020, when we had the latest parliamentary elections. And why I'm saying this? Because these were the first elections that we managed to change the government on the elections in Montenegrin history. After this, we had so many political events which completely changed the political scene in Montenegro. One of these changes were also forming of a new political party called Europe Now. The leaders of this party are not unknown to the Montenegrin public because they were part of the first government after the elections in 2020 as an young expert, which were included in the government. And they developed one economical program called Europe Now, which increased the salaries of Montenegro population. And this was the main reason why they are so supported and so popular in the Montenegro. After this government collapsed, after that, they decided to form a party and they decided to run for the parliamentary status. Mm-hmm. And because of their popularity in a Montenegro society, they were able to become the strongest political party in Montenegro.
Right. As you said yourself, I mean, nothing is set in stone right now. And I wonder if the coalition talks were to fail, could then the country go to elections again?
I would not like to see that because I believe that Montenegrin citizens are really tired of these political events. We just had the third elections in the last 4 months. And because of that, one of the reasons is that we had the lowest turnout of the voters in the last 20 years. I believe that Montenegrin citizens are really tired of politics, and that would not be a great solution for them. At the same time, why I hope that we will find a way how to form a stable government is because Montenegro has a really specific chance to strengthen its EU integration process. And the first condition for this is to form a stable political government.
Right. On this point that you are making, the pro-Serb coalition for the future of Montenegro has emerged as a kingmaker in the formation of a future coalition government by winning some 15% of the vote. But with both pro-EU and pro-Serb parties working in a potential coalition, what impact will this have on Montenegro as it pursues joining the bloc?
Well, there are so many divisions and differences between these parties. You just mentioned the pro-Serbian parties, and they got a really respectable amount of votes from Montenegrin citizens. But they are saying publicly that they support the process of integration. But during the campaign, they were always saying that Montenegro should have a closer ties with Serbia. They were saying that their president is sitting in Serbia, not in Montenegro. So that they also want to question the position of Kosovo. These are the issues that are dividing the Montenegrin society, and they are not in line with the EU integration process or the Western orientation of the country. That's why it will be really hard to imagine them in a stable political government. But in any way, Europe Now, if they are the ones who will try to form the government, will need to choose between them and the previous ruling party, DPS. This will not be a really easy choice because in either case, it will be really hard to explain to the voters why you decided to cooperate with them. But as I said, if you have a higher aim and a higher goal, which is a process of European integration, you will need to make tough political decisions in order for Montenegro to have a stable political government.
Ana Ninizic, thank you very much for your interesting analysis and for being with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.